All right, Sam, let's start with a hypothetical. What if I told you there's a known vulnerability that could literally, in a single day, make trillions of dollars in crypto assets completely worthless?
I'd say that sounds like a plot from a movie.
Exactly. Except it's not. And the craziest part, the blueprint to break Bitcoin has existed for 30 years. And that brings us to the central mystery we're digging into.
Okay, so that's the real question then. If this thing is so serious, and it's been around since before Bitcoin was even a thing, why is this the first time I'm really hearing about it? Why isn't everyone screaming about this? That's what's so unnerving. And to figure that out, we first have to understand the lock that's currently protecting pretty much all of crypto. The entire security model of almost every digital asset out there comes down to a really elegant piece of mathematics. You can think of it like a one-way street. Or, a much better analogy, a plate of scrambled eggs.
Scrambled eggs. Got it. I'm intrigued.
Okay, so this is the technical term for it, elliptic curve cryptography. It's the bedrock, and it's built on a super simple idea. There's a math problem that is very easy to do in one direction, but with the computers we have today, it's basically impossible to do in reverse.
So your public address is made from your private key, but nobody can go backwards from that public address to figure out your private key and steal your coins.
Precisely. That's the whole game.
And that's where the scrambled eggs come in.
Exactly. It's the perfect way to think about it. You can crack some eggs into a pan and scramble them in a minute, right? But there is no way you can turn that pile of scrambled eggs back into two perfect liquid yolks and whites. That impossibility, that one-way function, is what keeps trillions of dollars secure. It's the wall.
But you're saying there might be a way to unscramble the eggs?
I'm saying the recipe has been published for decades.
Yeah, it turns out the instructions for unscrambling those eggs have existed for 30 years. That's long before the first Bitcoin was ever mined. It's just wild.
Whoa, okay, this timeline puts it in perspective. 1994, that's 15 years before Bitcoin was even created.
Yes, this is the part that gets me. The mathematical key to breaking Bitcoin's security was published before the thing it breaks was even invented. The threat literally predates the asset.
And that last date range? Q-Day?
That's not a wild guess. That's the consensus from experts in the field for when this stops being theoretical and becomes very, very real.
And this is the culprit, Shor's algorithm. It's that 30-year-old crack in crypto's foundation. It was designed to run on a quantum computer, and it doesn't just solve the math problem faster. It fundamentally treats that impossible problem as trivial.
So it's not like a better pick lock. It's something that just makes the lock not exist anymore.
Exactly. For Bitcoin, for Ethereum, this isn't just a bug. It's a potential kill switch for their entire security model. Okay, this is staggering. Billions of years versus hours? That's not even in the same ballpark.
It's not. It's a completely different sport. See, a classical computer tries to guess the key one combination at a time. But a quantum computer, it can essentially explore all the possibilities at once. It's a total paradigm shift. What would take the world's best supercomputer longer than the age of the universe could be done during a lunch break.
Which brings us right back to the original question. If the math is this clear, the threat is this old, why isn't there some massive Manhattan Project-style effort to fix this?
Well, that's the frustrating part. The answer has nothing to do with technology. It's about us. It's about people.
Right. So let's get into it. We have a known vulnerability. We have a ticking clock. So why the inaction? Why does it feel like the crypto world is just kind of shrugging its shoulders?
It really boils down to these three things. First, you have this cultural optimism in crypto, this tech will save us mentality. A lot of people just think, oh, we'll just upgrade when we need to.
Which ignores how hard that actually is.
Massively. Second, let's be honest, talking about an existential threat is terrible for the price. It's a huge financial incentive to just stay quiet. But the biggest problem, the real hurdle, is decentralized governance itself. It makes urgent, coordinated action almost impossible.
We saw people fight for years over something as simple as the block size. This is on another level.
1,000 times more complex.
And look at this comparison. It says everything. The traditional tech world, institutions like NIST, they've been working on this for 8 years. They've already finalized the first quantum-resistant standards this year.
And in crypto, it's just a future concern. That's not reassuring.
It's the opposite of reassuring. It's alarming.
So walk me through why it's so hard. It's not just like updating an app on my phone, right?
Not even close. It requires something called a hard fork, a fundamental change to the network's rules that splits the chain. You have to get thousands of miners, developers, and exchanges who are all competing with each other to agree on a path forward. And even if you manage that miracle, then you have the hardest part, convincing every single user, millions of them, to manually move all of their assets to a new quantum-safe address. It's a logistical nightmare.
Okay, so let's make this tangible. What exactly is at stake here? Can we put some numbers to the risk?
We can. And this is where it gets really sobering.
A major analysis by Deloitte found that up to 37% of all Bitcoin is immediately vulnerable.
37%? Why that specific number?
Because those are coins held in wallets where the public key has already been revealed on the blockchain from a past transaction. That makes them the absolute easiest targets for a quantum attack. We're talking about millions and millions of Bitcoin. Wow. So looking at this, we're not talking about some small, niche part of the network. Over a third of all Bitcoin could be at risk on day one.
On day one, that's the low-hanging fruit.
And it gets even worse. There are an estimated 1.7 million Bitcoins, a lot of them Satoshi-era coins that haven't moved in a decade, that are held in an even older, more vulnerable type of wallet.
What's different about them?
With these P2PK addresses, their public keys are always exposed just by design. They are arguably the most vulnerable assets on the entire chain, a giant glowing target.
Right, and I guess this is the key takeaway. An attacker doesn't actually need to drain every single vulnerable wallet.
Not at all. They just need to crack a few high-profile ones. Imagine they crack one of those original wallets from 2010. The goal isn't just theft. It's to prove that the entire system is fundamentally broken. The panic? The market would do the rest of the damage. It would be a catastrophic loss of confidence.
And it's important to know, not every project is in the same boat. The giants, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, they all use this same vulnerable cryptography.
But there are projects that are resistant?
Yes, a few were actually built from the ground up to be quantum resistant. The solutions and the technology exist, they just haven't been adopted by the networks where all the value is. Okay, so we've laid out the threat, the massive stakes, and why nobody seems to be acting. This feels pretty bleak. So what can anyone actually do? Where do we go from here?
The goal here isn't to create panic. It really is to encourage preparation.
First, let's just get real about the timeline. The consensus is that a machine capable of this will likely exist between 2029 and 2033.
That's really not that far away. We're talking 5 to 9 years. For something this big, that's the blink of an eye.
For a multi-trillion-dollar ecosystem to re-engineer its entire foundation, it's an insanely short window. Okay, so what are the actionable steps? What should people be doing?
Honestly, the most important first step is for people to just take this seriously. Stop dismissing it as some science fiction fantasy. Second, start actually paying attention to the developer discussions. Look for proposals on Bitcoin or Ethereum that specifically address post-quantum security.
And for the more technical folks?
If you're a developer, start playing with post-quantum crypto libraries now. And for investors, it might be prudent to at least research and understand the assets that were built to be resistant from the start, just to manage your own risk.
But this really gets to the core of it, Sam. The real danger here isn't just the technology itself. It's that the breakthrough will almost certainly happen in secret.
Right. A government or a big private research lab, they're not going to put out a press release saying, hey, everyone, we just built a machine that can break all global encryption.
Exactly. There will be no warning. Which leaves us with this final thought. We are not going to get a heads up before Q-Day arrives. The first sign that it has happened will be the absolute chaos that follows.
So the time to get prepared, to even just get informed, is now, not after the eggs have been unscrambled.
You can't put them back in the shell. Thanks for digging into this with me.
Yeah. Thanks, Morgan. A lot to think about.